Yo, what is good, YouTube, and welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be ranking the best point guards in NBA 2K23 MyTEAM here on this tier list. But before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 9,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, and I would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. But without further ado, let's hop right into it. Starting off with Bob Cousy, who stinks. He's D tier. Very easy choice right there. He can't dunk. He's short. He doesn't have great sigs. He's not a great defender because of how short he is. I mean, he's 6'1". Good wingspan, gold anchor's cool, but like, I mean, he's 6'1" and can't dunk. What are you going to do with that? 65 driving dunk, I guess he can dunk wide open, so I guess there's that, but release is super mid. He doesn't move well. At least he has a 65 driving dunk. I guess I'll give him that. Like, he can technically dunk, but he's not going to dunk very often at all. He doesn't do anything particularly great on the court. Badges are nice, but when you're 6'1", not a great slasher, and have a very mediocre release, so super mediocre sigs, you're just not going to play. Same thing with Chris Paul. He actually can't dunk. He's got like a 30 driving dunk, literally never going to dunk the ball. Moves better than Cousy, probably a better release than Cousy, but he's still, I mean, when you're that small, he's 6 foot and you can't dunk the ball, you're just not going to play. It's that simple. Now, Donald, I think is borderline S. I think you could make the argument he's S. I only got like 18 to 20 cards on this tier list, so only going to have like 3 or 4 guys in the S tier, but I think Donald is probably my 4th favorite point guard in the game, in my opinion. So he's right in that borderline. I'll throw him at S tier right now. He's the only short point guard in the game that I think is really good in a competitive setting because of how elite he is offensively, as well as the fact that he's got incredible dunk animations and holds his own defensively. He competes on that end of the court, has a good player build as well, great release, great movement, great dunk animations. Like I said, love Donald, think he's an incredible offensive card and relatively good at the point guard position. Now, Donovan Mitchell's going to go C tier for me. If y'all saw my best cards tier list video with Evan last week, we definitely disagreed big time on Donovan Mitchell, but that's all right. Donovan, he's a good card, but he's short. Again, he's got the slashing ability, he's got good defensive badges, and he's got good all-around stats and badges, and he's got pretty good animations in terms of his sigs and even his release, but he's too small. Again, it's a big issue, and he doesn't have a next level elite release. If he had an incredible release, I'd probably move him up a bit, but his release is kind of just slightly above average. So again, I think he's probably C tier. In terms of another C tier guy, it's probably Gilbert Arenas. Similarly to Donovan, he's a little bigger, not quite as good of animations, but still relatively small. Doesn't do a ton of anything super well on the court. He doesn't move as well as Donovan. Release isn't quite as good as Donovan's, but stat and badge wise, they're relatively similar. He's pretty good. He's just not amazing. So C tier is probably pretty fair. Stockton, same issue as Chris Paul. Literally can't dunk the ball. Moves okay. Jumper's fine. Good defensive stats, but when you're that small and you can't dunk, you're just going to go D tier. That's just the way it's going to be. And then the same thing with JoJo White, who is super mid as well. Another short PG who doesn't do a ton of things super well on the court. He's got good speed, but super low interior, which is a big issue. 80 drive and dunk at least on him is nice, but no limitless takeoff, no posterizer. Defensive badges are pretty good, but he doesn't have anchor. He doesn't have brick wall. He's got horrible interior and super low block, which are huge issues. Release is pretty mid. Paul George release is just not that good this year, especially on normal. He doesn't move that great. Only at 6'3" as well. I think he's definitely a D tier PG. Now, a guy that I actually like a lot, to the point where I'm actually going to put him in the A tier. And y'all are going to say I'm gassing it, but I really don't think I am. It's Kevin Porter Jr. This card is incredible. I think he is so good at the point guard position. Really like KPJ a ton. He just does a ton of things really, really well. He's got an incredible release. He's a really good slasher. He moves well. And when I say incredible release, it's legitimately one of the best releases in the game. It is that good. And he's 6'6" as well. He doesn't have the best defensive stats or badges, but when you have that type of size, an incredible release and incredible slashing on a guy who's 6'6" with a good player build, that's an A tier PG. Another A tier PG is LaMelo. He's missing some defensive badges, doesn't have limitless range, Agent 3's clamp breaker. He's missing some key badges really across the board, but he still is 6'7" with a great release and moves pretty well. Don't think he's quite as elite as the top few PGs, but I still think he's definitely in the A tier as well, along with Lonzo. I'm actually going to put Lonzo in the S tier though. I think Lonzo's probably the 3rd best point guard in my team right now. Incredible defensive PG, really good in the 2-man. Does not move well, and his release is relatively mid, but when you're a defensive PG like that, especially with how many good offensive wings we have, shooting guards and small forwards especially, Lonzo can hold his own without having to be an elite offensive card and still can be one of the best PGs in the game. Gonna put Luka in B tier. I think he's tall, which is nice, and he's got good badges, especially shooting, but he doesn't move well, and he's kind of an average defender, and his release isn't that good. So great size, great shooting badges, stats and badges are solid, but I still think he can't be higher than B tier. The only reason he's probably B tier is because he's 6'7", to be honest. Best PG in the game is Magic Johnson. I think he's definitely S tier. Love myself some Magic in this game. Behind the back is incredible. He's so glitchy with his animations. He's 6'9", so versatile defensively, can hit open on offense, normal fade. Love myself Magic Johnson. Think he's in top tier tier point guard for sure. Markel's going to go C tier for me. He's not bad, but he's an amethyst. He's nothing too special. I do like Markel's release. I will say that for a super budget PG, he's not a bad option. 6'4" is decent size. 92 speed and excel. He's a solid slasher with gold limitless takeoff and posterizer. Will hit open and a somewhat decent defender, even with a pretty mediocre interior and a low block. But half quick first step is nice. I like his release. I like his movement. A little bit behind the back is super nice. I think he's pretty solid and a C tier guy. Penny's going to be my last S tier point guard. I think he's solid. I don't think he's amazing, but I think he's pretty good. I'm lying. I do think he's pretty amazing. His release isn't amazing, but he does everything else really well. Normal fade, versatile, good defensive badges, great size at 6'7", super solid player, built good slasher. Not an amazing shooter, but he does everything else really well. I feel like he's a better version of Lonzo. Maybe not quite as good defensively, but moves a lot better than Lonzo offensively, which makes him more versatile. And that normal fade is super nice to have as well. So I think he's S. Rex Chapman's B, 6'4", really good shooting badges, great release, capable defender, and a really good slasher. He's got half limitless takeoff, half limitless range, other good half badges as well, like posterizer, blinders, deadeye, agent 3. Somewhat decent defense, 82 interior, solid. Again, he's 6'4", so he's got pretty good size. He's decently quick, and he's an incredible slasher and shooter with decent movement. So really like him a lot. I'm gonna put SGA in A tier, and I'm actually gonna put SGA top of A tier. I think he's probably the 5th best PG in the game. Really like SGA a lot, and I think he definitely deserves to be A tier. 6'6" with a good release, solid all around stats and badges, capable defender. Really like SGA a lot. You could argue him S tier, and I wouldn't disagree with you. And then Steph's going to go B tier. I know he's small, but he is an incredible shooter, moves really well, can dunk the ball, and has some decent defensive stats and badges. I don't think he's as good as a guy like Donald among short PGs. Probably not even quite as good as a guy like Rex Chapman, but I do think he's slightly better than the guys in C and D. So I want to put him in the B tier. And then finally, we got Trae Young. We got a lot of D tiers, but Trae Young is also a D tier. Can't dunk the ball, super short, not a great defender. Y'all know how much I dislike Trae Young as a card. I don't love him in real life either, but specifically as a card, definitely not a big fan whatsoever of Trae Young in this game. I think he's super mid. And one thing I will change, I'm going to move Donovan Mitchell up a tier, and I'm actually going to move JoJo White up a tier, because JoJo stat and badge wise is a little bit better. He just doesn't have the interior defense, but he is at least 6'4", so he's got a little bit more size, which is nice. And I do think Donovan Mitchell is just as good as Steph Curry, to be completely honest, so I think he should also be B tier. Even though I know I put him D tier on the best cards tier list, I think he should go B tier as well. And I think that evens out the tier list a little bit, makes it a little bit better in total. So that being said, that is going to do it for my tier list. Let me know down in the comment section down below, first of all, what you think of my tier list and where you would rank these guys in this list, what you would change. And also if there's any PGs I left off this list, considering that I didn't include that many PGs, only like 18, let me know about those in the comment section down below, and I'll tell y'all where I would have those guys slot in at the point guard position. But that is going to do it for the video. Like I said, hopefully y'all did enjoy. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.